Welcome to the channel. We're finally going to talk about this diet I've been hinting at for a while, which is extraordinary. It completely changed my life. Whether you fart or not, it's going to do you a world of good because it's easy, fast, super effective, and economical. You eat your fill and you're going to learn a lot more about yourself, you'll see. And it concerns absolutely the entire French population. And as a bonus, it helps you lose weight and does so super effectively without effort. Video made in collaboration with YFood. I received some incredible new flavors. If you're overweight, but not only that, if you have energy loss, a bloated belly, 24/7, which was my case, we'll talk about it. Not necessarily farting more, and if you fart a lot, even more so. You should know that after years of dieting, since we eat a lot of fast food on the channel and I have to make up for it, I've never found something this effective in my life, and I solved the problem in a month. And even if you're in great shape, it'll do you a world of good. I truly believe that this is a public service video, and if you think you're lactose or gluten intolerant, that's nonsense. It's not entirely false either, since you've found part of the problem without understanding why. I'll explain everything in this video and cover all the details. And I'm not a nutritionist, I advise you to go see one. I'm probably going to generalize a lot, use a lot of shortcuts, but you'll understand everything this way. And of course, we'll finish with ultra simple, ultra quick, ultra effective recipes that I used every day, even when I didn't have time. This is the diet of the century, and you'll understand it by the end of this video. We're going to quickly talk about my journey because you might see yourself in it, but also you'll understand a bit of the process. Because all these stomach problems are kind of the plague of our times with today's food. Bloated stomach, irritable bowel, loss of energy, low spirits, stomach inflammation, acidity, sensitive digestion. The stomach has an influence on absolutely everything in your life. The paradox is that simply eating healthy or organic isn't enough to feel better, as the details matter. You can eat vegetables every day, eat super healthy, cook with fresh foods, and still have all these problems. That was my case, because of course I tried. You know that a few years ago I lost 15 kilos with quite a few restrictions, a lot of vegetables, but it never solved this bloating problem. I'll tell you about it. The YouTube channel is 10 years old and we've made tasting videos for 9 years. Sometimes to excess, especially in the early YouTube years when I was really overdoing it because we were posting several videos a week. By the way, it really showed on my body. I looked like I was about to die, but paradoxically, at that time I didn't have all these problems. They came later. Then I started dealing with constant bloating. When I woke up, when I went to bed, while working out all the time without necessarily farting more. It got to the point where I thought I really had something very serious. During those years, I tried everything. I ate a balanced diet. I even went to see a nutritionist, a gastroenterologist. I had a scan because I was afraid I had cancer. That's how exhausting it was. I saw an endocrinologist and psychologist, tried everything, but never solved the problem with all the mental strain that comes with it. In France, it's tough to find available doctors, and each has a different opinion. I was always tired, and my stomach was bloated. These are things I've mentioned to you a bit. Of course, exercising made me feel a little better. Eating better also helped, but it never solved the problem. And the problem is really simple. It's that when you have, over the years, an imbalance in your microbiome or a sensitive stomach, it's not enough to just eat healthy, because the problem comes from something that's present in many foods, and it will keep this imbalance going endlessly. Even when eating very healthy with lots of vegetables, the really crazy part and why I find it so incredible is that I didn't start this to lose weight, but to solve a long-term problem. I thought, I've tried everything, so why not try this? In the end, I lost 6 kilos in just a month and a half. It's incredible. I've regained so much energy and solved all my problems. I had to share this because everyone who's tried this diet feels the same. It feels amazing. And all this while still filming videos, even fast food ones, since I have obligations with the YouTube channel. Since it's my job, I imagine that without it, it would have been even more effective. Even though I did the first 10 days without filming videos, it became less of a diet for me and more my daily way of eating outside of videos, and I think it will be for years. Since in the videos we eat quite a bit of fast food, that's my compromise, let's say. How did I get here? That is to say, after so many things that didn't solve the problem, since we blamed it on stress and all that. Of course, stress does make it worse, but we never found the real cause. In the end, since before, when I was stressed, I didn't have this problem. So I'm telling you how it happened. I clearly used AI to find something, since AI is really good at detecting all the possibilities. Especially since I had done a lot of medical tests. And so the most likely thing I had was at least a sensitive stomach, bowel sensitivity, or even SIBO. So the SIBO test exists. SIBO and everything related to it, to put it simply, is when you have either a bacteria that's too abundant in your intestine and it's self-sustained by your diet even if you eat healthily, or when bacteria from the lower intestine move to the upper intestine and become excessive. Imagine, it's a bit like in nature. There are wolves and deer, and if you keep feeding the wolves endlessly, even without fattening them, there will be way more wolves than deer, and the deer will tend to disappear. Well, that's your stomach. It's full of wolves. And the problem, my friends, comes from one specific thing that's in a lot of everyday foods called FODMAPs. That's why I put a little P in the title, because FODMAP doesn't sound very nice. FODMAP stands for fermentable oligo, di, monosaccharides, and polyols. I had to practice saying it about 10 times to get it right. What does this complicated name mean? FODMAPs are small sugars found in certain foods that are hard to digest for some people, especially those with bowel motility issues, and they ferment in the gut, causing digestive problems. As a result, they are poorly absorbed by the intestine and ferment due to bacteria, which keeps the intestinal disorder going. The principle of the diet is very simple. We eliminate all FODMAPs that are responsible for the poor maintenance of the microbiota and that feed the wolves, combining that with foods that don't contain FODMAPs and are especially easy to digest. We're going to eliminate everything that causes fermentation, and you'll see it's pretty simple. The food with FODMAPs that we consume the most in France is wheat, in all its forms and derivatives, of course, including bread. You get why many people claim gluten intolerance. We'll discuss it because they feel better after cutting out bread. But of course, because it keeps the cycle going, but cutting out bread doesn't solve the problem. Fortunately, there are plenty of starchy foods we can eat and use, like rice, potatoes, or even corn. We'll discuss it later. It's simple. First, let me make a quick point so you understand a few things. So let's start with fructose. This is just to explain, but you'll see in practice it's extremely simple. Fructose, to sum up, is the sugar found in fruit. But not only that, what really harms you basically are fruits that are packed with glucose or sugar. The worst is honey. Honey is totally forbidden. For 4 or 5 years, I added honey to my coffee daily, believing it was healthier than white sugar. Actually, white sugar is better, because honey is highly fermentable in your stomach. And we're not going to stop eating fruits, since they're also highly recommended in a diet. We're just going to choose them more carefully. And help! A touch of freshness is coming for the summer with the new citrus collection. Limited edition with lemon, lime, and orange flavors. Why food is a balanced meal replacement drink. The pretty range is inspired by drinkable yogurt and tastes like milkshakes. I'll try the lemon for you. So, you know I don't really like lemon. You'll love it. It tastes like lemon pie. It's delicious, and they're great at making it. Plus, it's lactose-free, gluten-free, and has no added sugar. And as you watch the rest of the video, you'll understand why I always tell you it's easy to digest. With 26 vitamins and minerals, lime is original, so it kind of reminds me, of ice cream. Drink it very cold, it's extremely refreshing, it's balanced and nourishing, and it keeps you full for several hours. Now orange. It reminds me, of a well-known fruit juice where you add milk, but this is healthier and smoother. It's true that it has a bit of a milkshake vibe, and of course it's a healthier alternative to junk food. And as a new flavor, there was also the cherry version that I absolutely recommend to you. It's incredible. Perfect for hot days, busy schedules, and after workouts. And I use it at the beach in the summer, guys. I find it amazing at the beach. It's extremely convenient. It doesn't cause bloating, making it ideal for the beach and fitting today's video theme. But this isn't a diet product. I encourage you to enjoy it. You get 10 off with the code PI-WAN, and the pack is limited edition. I'll put all the links in the description. It helps support the channel. Most importantly, have fun and enjoy the beach. Gluten. Let's talk about gluten, because I think, like me, you probably know someone who has told you at some point that they're gluten intolerant. And I can tell you from experience that it's very complicated to explain to them that, apart from a very few people who are truly allergic with a healthy microbiota that hasn't become sensitive or inflamed, no one is really gluten intolerant. So let me explain. That way you'll be able to explain it to them, because it means they're just like everyone else who has problems, who have found a partial solution, but who also don't know how to really solve it. A bit like me. So gluten has nothing to do with FODMAPs, it's the combination. It's kind of the problem of our time, meaning that we find gluten everywhere. Why? Because on an industrial level, to put it simply, even in the genetic evolution of wheat, it makes foods a bit stickier and therefore makes wheat-based foods and their derivatives easier to mass produce. Gluten consumption has skyrocketed, whether it's from wheat or as an additive in everyday foods, ready meals, and pretty much everything else. And when your stomach is already upset, it makes the problem worse because it's rather inflammatory, especially since it's combined with the FODMAPs in wheat. So you see, the combination is pretty explosive. Many people who believe they're gluten intolerant stop eating bread and feel much better, which makes sense. Some people are truly gluten intolerant, but without a medical diagnosis and proper testing, they might not be correct. You see what I mean? It's more complicated. That's why this diet is interesting. It's designed for everyone. Let's talk about lactose. It's in all dairy products and cheese. Lactose is a FODMAP. Some people are truly allergic to lactose. There's a minor survival factor. It's interesting, you'll see. If you're of European origin, you digest it just fine. And there really are people who are lactose intolerant, but not among Europeans normally, because there are always exceptions, you know? So, it's pretty crazy to see that there are so many people who are lactose intolerant simply because the problem is that it's a FODMAP. Why is humanity supposed to digest milk when they're children and not adults? You'll see. It's quick and interesting. I'll explain it roughly, but when we're kids, we have an enzyme that digests all that. During the weaning period, so when we stop drinking milk, it's the same for animals. This enzyme disappears. Except for Europeans, who keep this enzyme due to a genetic modification that allows them to continue digesting milk as adults. Surely after thousands of years of consuming milk to survive, a mutation occurred, which is of course largely due to livestock farming. That's interesting. That means that the first Europeans at the beginning of livestock farming, when they started consuming milk, digested it very poorly. And there is also a mutation. In parallel, it's a different mutation but results in the same outcome among Africa's nomadic peoples. So if you come from a different background, especially if you're from sub-Saharan Africa, as is well known, it's very likely that you would digest milk very poorly. But if you're European, there's no reason for you to be lactose intolerant unless your problem comes from FODMAPs. And by the way, this lactose intolerance is much more widespread, since it also affects a large part of Asia. 90% of the world's population doesn't have this genetic mutation. If your European friends are intolerant, you can inform and help them, since the issue has another cause. It's unfortunate, as gluten and lactose intolerance has become somewhat trendy. And in the end, these are people who don't really understand the real problem. That's why I wanted to explain all this to you. Let's get right to the forbidden foods. I'll explain what I did since it's working well for me, and you'll see it's not very restrictive. First food, honey must be completely eliminated, totally forbidden. You can keep putting sugar in your coffee, it's not a problem. If you drink 2 or 3 coffees a day like me, you can use less sugar, maybe a third less, but that's not a big deal. The main issue is excess sugar overall. Coffee is somewhat discouraged because it's acidic, but don't cut out coffee because it worked for me with coffee. We shouldn't stop living. It's not the most important thing. It still works extremely well. Next, we eliminate wheat, and that's the most important thing along with honey. Complete ban, including everything in the same family like rye and barley. The hardest part for most is bread. But honestly, if you eat well and until you're full, it's not a problem. On the 8th day, I had a huge craving for bread, a monstrous one. So I made myself a ham and egg sandwich. If it's too hard to resist, you shouldn't deprive yourself because it didn't change anything at all. I ate pasta nearly every day, but by the 8th day, I made a sandwich instead because I craved something comforting with bread, since bread digests quickly. However, it's still fermented. Especially with FODMAPs, you'll see that just replacing pasta has a huge effect on you in just a few days. So if you give in, go ahead, because your mood matters too in all this, and it's not a big deal. Next, we eliminate all dairy and derivatives like cheese and crème fraîche. It's easy since we'll use coconut milk instead, though you may still crave cheese. What I did was add a bit of grated cheese to my dish. It didn't change anything. Of course, not every day. And once I even bought myself a small cheese and ate the whole thing. It's not a big deal. When you have a strong craving, the thing is to try to identify what your body needs. I'll give you a big example where I almost gave in because I was tired and lazy. The weekend arrived and I had a huge craving for pizza. I thought, damn, it's a shame you're going to order one. Where does this craving come from? And actually, when I thought about it, I just wanted fat, a lot of fat. I was missing fat because I had cut down too much on fat in my food. What I did was make myself some rice with butter. That completely satisfied my craving. And I didn't order pizza, and I saved I don't know how many hundreds of calories without eating any wheat either. I haven't tried. But with milk, apparently the problem is lactose. I cut everything out, so see if lactose-free works for you or not. That's for you to try. If you need those foods, choose lactose-free, especially for breakfast. After a few days, see if things improve. It's very important to completely avoid onion and garlic. They're high in fructans, a type of FODMAP. Fortunately, we can use pepper and spices, but you should avoid chili. It's often mixed with vinegar, especially in Tabasco. The biggest thing people don't realize is onion and garlic, which are very healthy foods. Next, we cut out all legumes like chickpeas, beans, split peas, that whole group. both for FODMAPs and for ferments as well. For vegetables, we completely cut out all cabbage, broccoli, and also artichoke. Well, you already know that. It makes you gassy like beans. I cut out tomato sauce myself. That depends on you though. There are people who can have a bloated stomach all the time and who aren't sensitive to acidity. If you're sensitive to acidity, you should cut out tomato sauce. And above all, avoid sauces that are too fatty. Because too much fat also contributes to this problem. If you're ever unsure about a food, just check on Google. It's pretty easy to find. For meats, absolutely avoid processed meats. For very fatty meat, stick to the lean part, of course. You don't eat sausage unless you really can't resist and you want some sausage. Or merguez, it's the same thing. We absolutely avoid those. Because too much fat, especially the bad kind, keeps the problem going. Now, when it comes to fruit, there are some that are completely off limits. For example, apples and pears are full of FODMAPs. And all the really sweet fruits, like mango, watermelon, and melon. But don't worry, there are good fruits too. But in this list, we've got the main ones. Think about anything that causes fermentation. Actually, it's very simple. Anything that's rich in FODMAPs. Don't worry, we're even allowed fast food. You'll see. Let's move on to everything that's allowed. And you'll see, there are quite a lot of things, and that's great. For starches, which will give you energy, of course, to replace wheat, in the order that I ate them the most. Rice is perfect. It's perfection. Corn, and you can even add a bit of butter on top, it's fine. And especially polenta, that's great and it's filling. And of course, you're allowed to have potatoes. Those are the 3 starches you'll be alternating, and you'll see that it's actually enough. Something to try, because I haven't tried it myself. Apparently, you can also have quinoa. White sugar is okay, not in excess, of course. So, we stop sugary drinks and all that. For meats, we can have almost everything, as long as it's not too fatty. Eggs, chicken, fish. I'll show you my groceries later so you can see the good stuff. Of course, red meat, friends. I'm craving steak right now. Coconut milk is allowed and you'll use it often for cooking. Not in large quantities, but you'll see that it's enough to season the dishes. It's essential. Butter is the same, not in large quantities, and preferably raw, by the way. And olive oil and vegetable oils too, of course, but not in excess. You can have any green vegetables. In my recipes, you'll see how to eat them easily, since vegetables can be unappealing. Mixing them with starches or rice makes them taste much better. So, anything like zucchini, green beans, spinach, you can have. I haven't tried spinach because it's true that without cream, it's a bit strange. Lettuce is allowed. I don't digest it well, so you know I don't eat salad. And you can have carrots, that's important. My combo was zucchini, carrots a lot, and green beans. Let me make a quick note, guys. After filming this video, just to let you know that I took it a step further and got a blood test. Everything is perfect, except that I had a small deficiency, and it's my fault, which I never had before, so I think it comes from the diet, a vitamin B9 deficiency, and what is rich in B9 spinach? Lettuce. So, it's entirely my fault. Eat spinach, and as for meat, I recommend liver, like veal liver or chicken liver. It's rich in B9 and folate. When it comes to fruit, there's one that changed my life. Bananas. You can have bananas not too ripe, so they're not too sweet. I love bananas. When they're like that, it's perfect. You can have kiwi too. I had some from time to time, but not too much. Blueberries and apparently strawberries too, though I'm not sure why. Maybe they're lower in FODMAPs, but I recommend avoiding them. They still cause acidity, so I wouldn't have them, and I didn't have any. But I'm mentioning it because it's a food that comes up often. Look into it, try it out. I'm also adding soy sauce. I used a lot of it. That's why you should experiment, since it's not always recommended due to added sugar. We avoid the flavored kind because it has more FODMAPs, which is why you have to test it, because for me it's indispensable. I mean, I reduced FODMAPs so much that what was in the soy sauce didn't have any effect at all. And when I looked into it, it's funny because I saw that I wasn't the only one. It's not recommended, but in the end, it's actually pretty effective. So I absolutely recommend it. It really made my life and my meals better. Seriously, do it. And it's not high in FODMAPs. I'm talking nonsense. It's that in the flavored one, they add onion, garlic, and so on. So just get a plain, simple one. That's a lot to take in. I'm just showing you what I did. Something that's apparently important is also to cut out all sugar-free drinks. I'm telling you, I didn't do it, but I also didn't have them in excess. Maybe one every 2 or 3 days, and even once a week I buy a sugary drink. Because anything with sorbitol also contributes to bowel issues or inflammation. I think in general with this kind of thing it's really tough, because you can't just take away all pleasures either. Simple recap, we completely cut out pasta. We replace it with things like potatoes, rice, polenta, and don't fool yourself, get the 2-minute one. It's the best for making a quick meal. Because often we give in because we don't have time to cook. To go with that, well, that's what I chose. In addition to eggs, turkey, 5% fat frozen steak, chicken, prioritize turkey. It's just a little less fatty. And wild salmon frozen, it's not too expensive. $7.50 for 4. And of course, I forgot tuna. You can have that too. For vegetables, that's my main combo. zucchini, carrots, then green beans and flat beans. Mixed with rice, it's perfect. And for seasonings, I absolutely recommend Asian stuff. It's incredible, it's really good. For seasoning, well, this is in almost all my meals. Soy sauce, don't get the light one like I did, they just add water. Just use less of the regular one. Ramen broth, which is surprising because it's not always recommended. There's a bit of sugar and all that. It's the same, made with soy sauce and works great. Add pepper, coconut milk, and any curry spices. Try it. Avoid pre-made curries since they often have extra ingredients. But with coconut milk, you make it yourself with powdered spices. Then aromatic herbs, I used quite a few as long as they're not onion. And above all, something extremely important, there's no limit. You eat until you're full, that's the most important thing. Not being hungry. And if you're hungry, you eat. It's better to eat large amounts of a healthy dish. It won't affect your diet since you'll likely be less hungry later. Eat, it's important. To help get back in shape, I suggest taking vitamins. They're affordable and good for you. And know that I did 20 minutes of exercise every day. You can go for a 30-minute walk. It will do you good. Moving helps with digestion, and you'll burn just a little more energy each day. Also know that I used miso to make potato and vegetable broths. It's super convenient for variety, but it's actually a bit harder on the stomach. It's slightly fermented, I noticed. So once every 4 days, it's fine. The difference is subtle, but you can feel it anyway. I kept it simple. You can go organic, it's economical. You'll see you'll save money, so you can treat yourself. If there are foods you love, just check online to see if you can have them or not. The important thing is to cut out wheat and lactose especially. Really, that's the most important. And then cut down on excess sugar and the rest will follow. For dessert, I have to admit, I mostly just ate bananas. It's the perfect thing. Even at 4 o'clock when I'm hungry, a banana. If I'm hungry, a banana. Not too ripe, not too sweet, but it's perfect because it's filling. Most importantly, a slightly green banana is the opposite of an overly sweet banana and aids digestion. Simple and effective. If I have strong sugar cravings, especially for chocolate, which has happened to me, I dip the banana in a bit of cocoa powder. It's super effective. And I even bought myself a chocolate bar. So go for dark chocolate. It's not a big deal. Maybe once a week. And for fast food, on the weekend, once a week, you can have sushi, my friends. And yes, sushi is totally FODMAP friendly on one condition. You don't add wasabi, ginger or sweet soy sauce, but it's fine, it works. Prefer the ones with raw fish, of course, it's really good for you. And know that avocado is low in FODMAPs. For drinks, mineral water is best. Choose it over sparkling water, which is more acidic and bubbly. But what does that look like? Let me show you. First dish, this is for people who don't have time to cook like me. It's comforting, quick and perfect. Important, this is for lunch. In the evening, you absolutely need to mix vegetables with a bit of starch and some meat. At lunch, you can have a bit more starch. If there's a vegetable in the mix, that's better, but sometimes we don't have time. From experience, that's what I did. I only added vegetables occasionally, maybe every other lunch or 1 out of 3 times. Vegetables mainly help reduce starches by adding weight without your body noticing. Eating vegetables doesn't fool your brain. It'll say, damn, this isn't great. There's not enough energy. Let's make some polenta. You should especially eat until you're full. It's important above all not more than 1 steak. Of course, per meal, just to be clear, no excess meat, no excess in general. And when you add coconut milk, you avoid adding extra fat, except for cooking meat, but not too much. I put a little on the pan and wipe it off. Why? Because there's already fat in the coconut milk. No more than 1/5 of a 20 centiliter bottle per dish. No need to overthink it, just measure. If there's a little too much, it's not a big deal. Cook the steak, add the steak to the polenta. 1/5 of the bottle. Damn, I'm at the end. There we go. And a bit of soy sauce, also for seasoning. You have no idea. It's a rough recipe, but effective. Then we stir, we mix it all together. And there we go, a bit of pepper on top. It looks ugly, but it's effective. I'll show you how I did it. At least I know it's effective. You can make the sauce in the pan with the steak and pour it over. It looks nicer. But honestly, I did it this way 3/4 of the time, so I'll show you. It's best to add a vegetable, as I mentioned. I'll show you when you have time. The thing is, with polenta, but vegetables work much better for me with rice. When you don't have time, I've done this often. It's really, really good. It's comforting. It's quick, it's really good. Well, it's filling and eat until you're full. I finally have my real lunch and can show you what I've actually eaten this past month. The dishes aren't pretty, but they're effective. It's super filling. It's nice actually, this diet works because it's silly, but the meals are enjoyable really. That's all there is to it. Coconut milk will replace the fat. I tried coconut cream, which is fattier but less effective. I don't recommend it and have given up on using cream. Listen my friends, simple and effective. I'm really enjoying it. Honestly, I'm really enjoying it. I love polenta. We really don't eat it enough. Now that you know it's good, eat more until you're full. If there's extra, save it for the evening. If you're hungry, you can have a banana for dessert, but it's not mandatory. There were plenty of meals where I wasn't hungry for dessert, actually. Or sometimes I just had a slight craving for something sweet, and in that case, I would only have half a banana. I'm unusual because I never eat breakfast, so I suggest looking online for anti-FODMAP breakfast options. There are probably effective ones available. Apparently you can make it with buckwheat, rice, or millet and eggs. The goal isn't to be zero FODMAP, it's to be low FODMAP. So it just needs to be low so it works, so that rebalancing takes over from the imbalance. And we enjoy simple things, you'll see. An important thing I want to remind you of, eating until you're full doesn't mean overeating either. You eat to be satisfied. Just because these are low FODMAP dishes doesn't mean they're limited, you know what I mean? Let me show you another dish. We're making an ideal lunch dish if you have extra time. I recommend a steamer since we'll eat more vegetables in the evening. And what I do to save time is make extra, so I can add it to my dishes or stir fry it already cooked at lunchtime. I try to give you the ideal quantities. It's very hard because honestly it's a headache. You shouldn't do it. But what's important in the evening is to increase the vegetables and reduce the starches, especially. And the ideal thing at lunch is to have just a little bit of vegetables in it, not too much, so that there are still more starches. So, for the vegetables, ideally, I cook them either in the oven or with a steamer in the evening when I'm working out. And of course, without any fat in the oven. You need to be able to cut them up and stir fry them afterwards. Here, I'm going to make green beans. Alright, let's make some rice. Important thing, you should rinse the rice before cooking and after. But especially after cooking, rinse it a lot. Why? Because it's much easier to digest. And we maximize that. And we're going to make it with turkey. The rice, turkey, and carrot combo is pretty good. But anything like rice, meat, and vegetables goes perfectly together. With ground beef or egg, it's the same. You can even make it with tuna in a salad. If you add olive oil to a cold tuna salad with rice and, for example, green beans, it's perfect. And you can add eggs too. As for the olive oil, I wouldn't use more than 1 tablespoon. You shouldn't cut down on fat too much because we're already eating pretty healthy, so it's not a big deal. You know, sometimes out of laziness in the evening, I even put the turkey in the oven with the vegetables and it works well. Then I cut it up and stir fry it. A tip I use for cooking meat is to add a bit of oil, and I do the same for omelets. I also wipe it a little with a paper towel to spread the fat around. Just enough, but not too much, for cooking. If I crave something fatty, I add a small knob of butter before eating. Alright, let's add some vegetables. I would say the ideal is 2 servings of starches, 1 serving of vegetables, and 1 serving of meat for lunch. The turkey, there we go. Of course, mix it well. I took a plate that's a bit small. You can stir fry this with soy sauce. It's incredible. But let's change it up. Let's use this. It's fish broth with Kikkoman soy sauce. It's so good. Really so good. I'm going to make a little concentrated broth. You mix it with water, which I'm going to pour nice and hot over my dish. And it spreads everywhere. It does everything. It adds salt. And don't worry, it doesn't really taste like fish. It's more like a ramen broth and it's delicious. Enjoy your meal, my friends. It's simple, effective, and above all, it's really good, it's slightly sweet. The broth is incredible. So I realized it afterwards and not at the beginning, and luckily there was a little bit of wheat in it and some sugar. But we've reduced the FODMAPs so much that in the end it doesn't matter. It still works great and adds variety. I even stir fry in the broth sometimes. There are many types of ramen broths, so I recommend them. It's really exotic. For lunch, I think the vegetable to meat ratio is perfect. It's still filling and adds extra vegetables. And it's delicious. It's important to enjoy yourself and for meals to remain a pleasure above all. Actually, you can really use anything that's based on soy sauce. I think it's amazing for making this diet easier. It makes every dish delicious with lots of variations. Alright, let's move on to dinner. I'll show you. Steamed potato, zucchini, and carrot combo. Honestly, it's not very good. Let's do something better. I'll cut everything into pieces. I blend everything together. We're going to make a kind of mash, and there you go. It's way better like that. A little bit of coconut milk, about 1/5 of the can. Use coconut milk or a small amount of butter for fat. It depends on your preference. Adding soy sauce reduces the vegetable flavor. Sometimes that's unfortunate, so I just add salt. It tastes great. If you're very hungry, add more starch. I once didn't add enough and felt exhausted the next day. In that case, just eat a bit more. Eat until you're full. Adding 2 more potatoes barely increases calories. We'll use 2 eggs for protein. As an omelette on the side, same thing. You can add soy sauce directly in it, but I have a tip. Actually, my real reasoning was simple. You know that Japanese people are slim. I saw that soy sauce is low in FODMAPs, and by looking into it a bit more, I realized that in general, they have a diet that's very low in FODMAPs, which is perfect for the diet. So it was a chance to try a lot of things and see what was compatible and what wasn't. That way, eating stays enjoyable, and at the same time, we try new things. Here, we're going to make a regular omelette, nothing special. Epa, and for the finishing touch, I like to do this. So, just a little bit on the mash, there we go. With a bit of this sauce, it's amazing. This is a ramen shoju broth. Normally, it's made for cabbage broths, but actually, there's no cabbage in it. It makes a kind of meaty sauce, you see. There's a little sugar and wheat, but in small amounts. It's good for the diet because it encourages eating without negative effects. It's a broth, but I only use it for a bit of salt. Not every night, but with the mash and omelette, it's really good. Enjoy your meal, friends. There you go. You can eat easy vegetables. It's really good. Mashed, it goes down really well. This bouillon concentrate is amazing. It goes extremely well on omelettes and gives your dishes a bit of an exotic touch. It adds a lot of flavor. There you go. Sometimes when I'm a bit hungrier or feeling lazy, I make some rice. By always varying the proteins, the carbs, and the vegetables, you get some incredible combos. If you can't go without pasta, there are rice noodles. They contain tapioca starch and are also low in FODMAPs, in addition to being made from rice. I use them a bit less myself. What I've shown you is already quite effective, actually. Next dish, so same thing, same combo, baked version, with no added fat, it turns into little chips. Actually, I cook the vegetables either in the oven or by steaming them. While I go to the gym, when I get back, I just have to cook. It's quick. Sometimes I'm lazy. I just add some butter. It works really well. You can also cut them into pieces and saute them in a pan. But there's something nice. It's miso paste. Miso paste is low in FODMAPs. The red one is great. However, I do this about every 3 or 4 days. It's not a food to have every day, like soy sauce, for example, because it's still a fermented food. It makes it more tempting and adds nice variety. I put all the vegetables in a bowl, sometimes cutting them small. I take a spoonful of miso paste and mix it in warm water. It's fermented bean paste, but it really enhances dishes. Why is it low in FODMAPs if it's made from beans? No idea. Maybe because the quantities are quite small. Here, it's kind of like eating 3 beans. And it's the same. The combo of rice, vegetables, and broth with miso is incredible. I add the chicken or turkey with the vegetables. I'm at the end of the can. Usually there's a bit more. And of course, don't forget the salmon, rice, vegetables, and coconut milk, which is amazing, with a bit of soy sauce. And then I just add my miso on top to make a little broth. It's extremely nice and tasty. Enjoy your meal. And it's really good with the vegetables. Sometimes I make it much more concentrated so it doesn't turn into a broth. I just mix the vegetables and it's the same. It's delicious. It depends on your taste. There are many variations, so just enjoy yourself. And above all, take it from me, eat slowly and chew your food well. You know, that's something I don't do very often, so I recommend you buy this. It's the perfect combo. Broth, toppings, and broth variations. I also tried curry pastes, but I didn't really like them, so I use curry less often. And I forgot to mention, but you can also use soy. Firm tofu is low in FODMAPs. You know, those soy blocks. I'm talking about tofu. I skipped that word. I showed you potatoes in the evening, but most of the time I make rice, about 2 days out of 3. And polenta only at lunch, because I noticed it's a bit more energizing. And we need more energy during the day than in the evening. But do whatever you want, enjoy yourself. And above all, I recommend trying it for 10 days and see how it works for you. If you feel better and lose weight, trying it for 10 days will make you stick with it. I don't recommend teriyaki sauce as a topping, it's too sweet. The ramen sauce I showed you is very salty. We've covered everything. Remember, the key is to cut out wheat, cheese, mainly for lactose, excess fat, and sugar. Also, choose fruits that work best for you. Bananas are excellent because they're filling, they satisfy your hunger and fill up your stomach. And with a bit of chocolate powder when you feel like it, it's incredible. The simplest thing, I recommend you do a Google search on foods that are low in FODMAPs. Or go without FODMAPs if you're unsure what to eat. It's the easiest and quickest method. I did it for most of the diet. Make your shopping list and enjoy. And I invite you to try the new limited edition flavor pack. Get 10 off with the code PI-WAN. I'll put all the links in the description. It's refreshing, energizing, surprising, and above all, perfect for the beach. Thank you all, it helps support the channel. But most importantly, enjoy yourselves and have fun rolling around in the sand. And sometimes I make a little tomato sauce with coconut milk. It works, it's not too acidic from time to time. It all depends on whether you're sensitive to acidity or not. Adjust as needed, eat fatty foods, and survive. And good luck with your diet, everyone. Bye.